So we got 2 prizes going on. That's kind of going to be the structure of the group. So 2 different posts to look for each day, a little training video from one of the leaders on Team Boom, and then also a daily check-in to comment with a picture of your BAT, for that day. And don't feel like you have to check every single box on the BAT to post a picture. Like, be honest with yourself and with us as a team, as a family, and just let us know, like, take a picture of what you actually did that day. Don't just check the boxes to check the boxes. And then we can really kind of assess, self-assess and then assess as a team to see, like, okay, what boxes we're hitting, what boxes we're not. If we're hitting all the boxes, why isn't our business growing? We can really start to dive in. But if you're not honest about the boxes, then it's hard to assess and make improvements. So just be honest with that. And it doesn't matter if you don't hit any boxes. If you comment with a picture that has a blank BAT filled out, you're still going to be entered in that raffle if you do that every day. We just want honesty, not perfection. Okay? So, all right. So that group starts today. It's just 3 weeks. It's going to be a quick, just kind of a blitz, 3-week Dash to Diamond blitz with those 2 little things every day. But we thought it'd be really fun to kind of kick off the group with combining with our monthly Team Boom Diamond call. And so last week we had Jamie Fitzpatrick on the call talking leadership. And this week we have Keith Kahan, which I'm always so excited about because Keith is one of the coaches that I looked up to when I first started this business. I shouldn't say when I first started this business because Keith wasn't a coach yet. I should say I started looking up to him when I finally got my head out of my ass and decided I was going to do something with this business, because I signed up as a coach in 2008 and I sat on my ass with this thing for about 2-3 years. I think Keith became a coach in 2010, and I had already become friends with his sponsor, Bob Lucido, and I had watched Bob start to get excited about this business. I had seen him sign Keith up. I had seen Keith start to get more excited about the business. I started to see him have success. We all lived in Boston at the time. We were all business professionals in a way. We all, were doing pretty well with whatever else we were doing in life. Attorney, real estate, accounting. I just looked up to both of them and I saw the success they were having in this thing. I saw the way Keith talked about this business. I saw the way he approached this business. It wasn't about just Success Club. It was about treating this business like $1 million business. It was about treating this business like you had just invested $500,000 in a McDonald's franchise. And it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to invest $160 into this thing and see how it worked. It was like, no, like I just invested $500,000 into a $1 million business, which is now a multi-million-dollar business for Keith. He's earned multiple millions of dollars in this business. So I always just respected him for that. I just respected the way he looked at this as a real $1 million opportunity, a real $1 million business instead of just a $160 hobby that I was just going to invest in and try. So the way he approached this really affected my mindset and belief about this business. And I don't think I'd be anywhere near as close to where I am now if I hadn't crossed paths with him and then became really great friends with him, down the road after kind of watching him from a distance. So I'm really excited to have Keith on here. He's a multi-million club member. I think he's got over 30,000 coaches in his downline. He wrote his book, which I got around here somewhere. You guys have all read it. Hopefully, if you haven't yet, you will after getting to talk to him. So I asked Keith to kind of talk about some of his leadership traits that he talks very eloquently about in his book, because we're all on this call either leaders or developing into leaders. We're either diamonds that are trying to become leaders and help our coaches develop stronger belief and develop stronger skills. But it starts with us. Like, if the people you want to attract on your team, you got to become that person first. If you ask yourself, like, the type of characteristics you want your coaches to have, like how consistent are they? How much personal development do they have? in their life? How much time do they spend visualizing things? How often do they show up for themselves, for their team, for their business? Whatever answers you have for who you want to attract, that's what you got to do first, because you're only going to attract who you are and what you do. And that's something Keith spent a lot of time on, when he first started this business with it, was developing those traits in himself and helping his coaches develop those traits. So I'm going to get out of the way. We can kind of keep this like a Q&A type of discussion here to kind of keep it more of a fun type of chat here, Keith. But I really appreciate you taking the time to hop on here and share with some of these leaders that are really getting to that point now where they have coaches of their own and they're working on developing their coaches and helping their coaches develop their mindset and their skills. And we do have some coaches on here that are, more working towards that. And we have some coaches on here that, that have started to develop, some leaders of their own, or, some soon to be leaders of their own, which is really, really exciting. So we have a little bit of a mix. So I thought it'd be great to kind of hop on here and have you chat a little bit about your idea of what you see in leaders and the traits that, some of your leaders have worked on developing and how they've done that. All right, you're unmuted, I think now. I got you.
All right, what's up, guys?
What's up, man?
Thanks for the introduction. And yeah, so
you're up in Massachusetts still?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Up in Massachusetts, got a little farm going on here. Got 5 kids. Yeah, it's like
5 kids. And so what's been going on since the book came out? When did the book come out, and kind of what have you been up to, like, kind of since then? Like, what's been going on with that?
I think I kind of like to backtrack even a little bit more than that. So
love it.
When I was blessed, just as Pat had been and Bob had been, that for some reason we didn't get caught up in, we got trained a certain way with Beachbody, and we stayed in our own little bubble.
Yeah.
And we just
I feel like I'm sometimes still in that bubble. And
yeah, Yeah, and we were, our goal from the start, I was a new husband and a new father, and for me, one of the most important things in life was to be able to provide for my wife and kids. Like, I wanted to be able to do that. And in order to do that, I wanted to be able to make as much money as I could in this business. Like, that was my number one goal. And when I first got started, I saw Christine Dwyer. I don't know if she's one of those coaches that newer coaches have no idea who she is, but she's like the grandma coach, and she probably made well over $10 million in this business. And I saw her up on stage, and she was collecting this check, and it was a quarterly bonus check for like $200 and something thousand. And it was a quarterly bonus check, and I remember thinking that, like, she has to have this internet marketing like background. She has to have something, because it didn't make sense to me in my mind. How many DVDs and shakes can you sell to, because back then it was all DVDs. Like, how many DVDs and shakes do you have to sell to make that kind of money? And I didn't yet understand the power of building a team. But at that time, I had it explained to me about building a team, and had it explained that the only thing that she did different, and guys, if there's anything that you take from this call, like, this nugget is the piece. The only thing she did different is she focused on developing leaders as opposed to just hitting Success Club. Because it wasn't that she worked harder than everyone else. It wasn't that she was, but she was a hustler. And don't get me wrong, like, she was out there hustling, but she worked smarter. She understood how this business works. She understood the principle of network marketing, which is compounding your efforts. So a lot of times, and especially, like, we've got people that are going, you're running up to diamond right now. Just keep doing what you're doing. And here's the deal with getting to diamond. it's literally just a decision and then putting in work. So everybody on this call, you can get to diamond. It's making the decision and then hustling to do it. And then past diamond, though, we get to some different skills. We have to learn how to inspire and lead other people to do what we just did, right? So anyways, that's what Christine did. She focused her efforts on finding other people who wanted to do this business, and it wound up building a large organization for her. And the goal that I set out right from the start, from the day that I started this business, I said I want to make $1 million a year as a Beachbody coach. That was my goal. And here's why it's important to have a goal. And I suggest you have a monetary goal within Beachbody. I believe it's important because you have to have something that you measure all of your activities against. I'll be honest, I have one personally sponsored coach. She's been a coach for 7 years, has hit Success Club 10 for 7 years, and she still only makes like $200 to $300 a week. It's because she hasn't shifted out of that mindset of just, and don't get me wrong, like you want to be hitting Success Club every single month, but that's kind of like you want to be working out every single day, right? So that's just one of those things you do. It's just a part of your business. So anyways, that was the big focus. That was the big shift. And we had this, when I say we, my sponsor, Bob, him and I kind of built this together for the first 3 years, and we went all in on this thing. But anyways, fast forward to, there was a men's leadership event that Pat and I went out to, and it was all men, and Jimmy Hayes Nelson was there. It was him and Dave Ward. They were running it. And I remember being out there, and I was I was nervous to go out there. I don't like the spotlight. I don't like I like being up on stage with the microphone, but I don't like recognition and all that, right? It's just not, I'm just not that comfortable with it. So I remember there were guys there, and again, you guys probably won't know a lot of these names, but they're like the OGs of Beachbody. There was Pete Pena and Robert Hudgens and Josh Spencer, and then Doug Fitzgerald didn't go, but he's one of the other guys I always looked up to. And then
these are all the guys that are part of the Black Ribbon Club.
Yeah, I mean, all these guys probably have made, you know.
So for you guys that don't know, the Black Ribbon was like they changed it. It used to be called the Million Club. Now it's called like Legacy Club. But at Summit, you get a black ribbon if you've earned $1 million in earnings and commission from Beachbody. You get the black ribbon at Summit that you kind of put on your little name tag and walk around with. That says that you're a part of the Million Club, or now it's the Legacy Club. And once in a while, you see somebody that has this black ribbon on, and you're like, I've never seen this person before. I've never heard of this person's name, but they've made over $1 million in this business. How is that possible? And so Keith was one of them at the time. I was like, man, I never had heard of Keith or I had, because I was from Boston, but a lot of the other coaches hadn't heard of like all the names he just mentioned, but they were all $1 million earners and have gone beyond making $1 million cumulative. Like some of these guys are now making over $1 million a year. So yeah, that's what he's saying is some of these people, the OGs, the Black Ribbon Club that a lot of people don't know about. And I think a lot of you guys are probably asking, like, why have we not heard of them? Well, how have they done that with that kind of flying under the radar? I think that's where Keith's going with this.
Yeah, sort of. The piece that really stood out to me, though, was a lot of people, even in that club, I remember guys coming up to us afterwards and saying they found a lot of value in the presentation. So my sponsor, Bob, and we did a presentation together, and a lot of people found a lot of value. And these were guys that, again, I looked up to and I was going there to learn from, and they were finding value in the information that we were putting together. So we wound up getting booked on a bunch of team calls. And again, this was sort of my coming out with Beachbody. I think I had done one national wake up call. That was it. And it was just because we did things a little bit differently. our focus was a little bit different, and the focus for us was, and I'm not ashamed to say this, I wanted to make money. Like, that was my goal in this business. Yeah. Right? And it was like, I'm here to help people, but I'm here to help people because I can make money helping people. Like, that was it.
Right. And I think there's a lot of coaches on this call that have been through the recognition phase, and they've kind of gone beyond that, where it was like, this is fun. Like, I like the Success Club recognition. I like getting my name on boards. You know, I like working with people and helping them with their challenge groups and challenge packs. But I want to get to the point where have freedom. And that doesn't, like you said, you have coaches on you have a coach on your team that's made Success Club every month for 5 years.
7 years. Yeah.
7 years, that's making $300 a week, which is cool. But that's where I think coaches are starting to say to themselves, and a lot of coaches on this call, like, how do I create that $1,000, $2,000 a week, $5,000 a week? It's not going to come from just hitting Success Club, because I've been doing that for 2-3 years and it's not coming from Diamond because I did that and it's not coming yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, the way that it was laid out to me, or I don't know if this was laid out to me, or I think it just clicked. Like, at some point it just clicked. And here's what I think the Success Club path is. Let me rephrase that. Here's what I think the success path is. You get to Diamond yourself. And this is sort of the roadmap. This is where you're going over the next 5 years. Anybody on this call has the ability to do this. This is the roadmap that will get you multiple six figures guaranteed if you follow this roadmap. So you get to Diamond yourself, and the next spot, the most important rank in this business, is 2-star Diamond. And the reason for that, we won't go into the details on it right now, but the reason for that is you get to open up a second business center. So you get to Diamond, then you get to 2-star Diamond, and most people, they can get to 2-star Diamond with only popping 1 diamond. For example, when I had done it, my wife was also signed up as a coach, so we built her business center. Pat had family members signed up, so they built those business centers. So there's usually one person that's really close to you, and I'm going to just be cautious here. It's not that you do all the work and they don't do anything, but you can build them together. So, to get to 2-star Diamond, oftentimes you only have to find one other person that's really doing the business. Then the next piece that I think this is the next big step is 5-star Diamond. So we jumped up real quick here from Diamond to 2-star Diamond to 5-star Diamond, but I want to just break this down so you understand how simple it is. You get to Diamond. Everybody on this call, we started talking about that. Like, that's just a decision. It's a decision and hustle. Everybody has the ability to do it. Is it going to be easy? No. It's going to be a hustle, but you can get there. You don't need any more skills. You don't need, you just need hustle. Moving past Diamond, you may have to develop some more skills because you're going to need to inspire somebody else to do the same thing that you did, right? So again, to get to 2-star Diamond, maybe you have to inspire one other person because you helped build in my case, it was my wife's business center. So everybody follows me so far, and just to really simplify it, 2-star Diamond just means that you're a Diamond and then 2 of your personally sponsored coaches are Diamond. Here's the piece that a lot of people miss. To go from 2-star to 5-star, you really only need another 2 diamonds, because the 3rd diamond is going to be your second business center. And a lot of people, when we first get started, 5-star diamond seems so far off. But one of the things that happens once you get to 2-star diamond, you can basically clone yourself. You can say, okay, I got to 2-star diamond. Now I can start another business center and I can build that one to diamond. So in reality, a 5-star diamond business center is really you only building 3 diamonds. I know that was a lot, and we don't have a ton of time. So like if you're a newer coach and you're like, okay, he's totally lost me here. It's okay. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to reach out to your sponsor or other leaders in the group. One other thing I will say is, Pat, did Kim Carver release those videos yet? All the new rank or the income earning videos?
I haven't seen it, no.
All right. There's really good videos coming out on this. That's like the worst teaser ever.
No, okay. I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, they may even be released. So Kim Carver did a whole thing on how to actually earn through team cycle bonuses versus just running up for rank, like why you don't get paid at different ranks.
I like how you laid out those 3 steps though. But you're totally right. Like 2-star diamond a lot of times is just kind of getting to that point where you've inspired just that one other person to get to diamond themselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's what's the term? Like the kind of the kicker, the thing that like gets
the linchpin.
What'd you say?
A linchpin.
A linchpin. Yeah. Once a coach gets one other person that's like really into it, that you're never going to quit. Like once you find that one linchpin, that one other business builder that really kind of is in all the way, is in it for the long haul, like you're never going to go anywhere typically, like it's kind of the thing that like launches you. And then like you said, okay, now getting to 5-star is then just finding 2 others, because you get your second business center to diamond too. That's how I got the 5-star diamond, was a family member. And then I had a Joe Policino on the other side. And then he was my linchpin. Once he was in, like I was never going to go anywhere. And I got to 2-star. I got to open up my second business center. My 3rd star was my second business center, getting that to diamond.
Yeah.
So then I was like, all right, now I'm only 2 away.
Two diamonds away. Yeah.
It's totally true.
Yeah. And I think that there's certain times that you want to force ranks. And what I mean by that is you want to push these things to make them happen. 2-star diamond is one of them. Getting to diamond is one of those. Like getting to diamond is reaching out to anybody and everybody and being like, dude, just try this for a month. Like that's how you get to diamond. It's like just hustle, right?
Yeah.
And then
it's all, I like how you said, it's like getting to diamond is all hustle. Getting to 2-star, you got to start to develop some skills. You got to learn how to inspire others. Yeah.
And then the magic piece here, I saw someone, so when you get to 5-star, no, you don't get to open another center, Chris. But here's the 5-star is like, it's just, it's not going to make you any more money, but there's a psychological and emotional thing that comes with it, because now you're part of like the club with Beachbody. Now you get put on this separate Facebook page. You get the bigger team cycle bonuses. You get to, it's kind of like you just earned your black belt, right? It's like, all right, now you're a black belt. But in martial arts, here's what I forget who said this, but somebody in martial arts said that like getting your black belt, now you have the ability to start martial arts. Like now and I guess it depends on who you get your black belt from, right? Like the Gracies, it's like 25 years to get a black belt from them. But anyways, like when you get to 5-star diamond, here's what most people think is that you just keep rank advancing. And this was the one thing that we did differently. So everybody here, like you have the ability to get to 5-star diamond. Maybe you don't have the skill set currently, but there's only 2 skills you need in this business. You need to learn the skill of recruiting people, and then you need to learn the skill of developing them, which is really a better word than even developing is inspiring. Inspiring to see themselves not as they are, but as they can be. Loving them where they are, but seeing their potential for where they can go. Like that's the only other skill set you need to do. Man, I want to riff on something else, but let me stay focused on this.
Riff, man. Riff.
All right, I'm gonna come back. So we're talking about the skeleton, and we're talking about like the ranks, and we're pausing here at 5-star diamond. The next piece is super important, but I want to just touch on this one piece because it's so important. Because some of us, we're gonna get to diamond, right? And here's what we're gonna say: I can't find anybody that can do this business. I can't find other people who want to work this business. And what the real thing you're saying is, and let me just preface this by, if you're doing the work and if you're really out there hustling. So I talked about, you have to have the ability to inspire yourself. You have to, or to inspire others. You have to have the ability to love them where they are, but see where they can go. You have to have the ability to believe in them in their current state, even when they don't believe in themselves, right? Like, you hold the vision for other people. But here's the deal. You have to hold that for yourself first. And where a lot of us get caught up, and like what the book Build to Last, like there's a lot of stuff in there, but here's the deal in this business. Here's what it could be summarized into. For some of us, we focus too much on doing the daily actions and not enough on who we have to become, right? Because the Keith now, if I go out there and I talk to somebody about this business, it's way different than I was 10 years ago. And it's not because I have the credentials and the accolades or whatever, because there's plenty of people that have more than that. It's because there's a certain level of self-esteem in this business that you got to earn the hard way. Like, you got to go through, and the sexiest thing in this business isn't the woman standing there taking this pretty selfie that's a scroll stopper. Like, that's a part of it, but that's not going to change someone's life. That's not going to get you a leader. The thing that's going to get you a leader is when you have something difficult that you come up against and you don't back away, you walk through it. Like, that's what this, it's interesting because I just went through something really hard yesterday. So 2 months ago, I committed to do a triathlon, which is way out of my comfort zone because A, I hate swimming, like in deep water, and B, I can't run. Like, I just can't run. But I was like, you know what? I want to do this, and it's going to be a challenge for me. So I started training. I was swimming with one of my neighbors who's like 5 years older than me. He's smoking me swimming laps, and I was like, I'm going to do it though. A month ago, I pulled my back like really bad. And for the last 3 weeks, I wasn't able to train at all. And like a week ago, I was like, all right, I feel good enough that I can start running again. I can start biking again. And I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this triathlon. And the only reason I wanted to do it is because I told myself I was going to do it, right? And I was physically capable of doing it. My ego didn't want to do it because I was way out of shape. I was not prepared for this. But it's a small triathlon. It's not like it was an hour and a half to 2 hours. Like, that was how long it was going to take to finish. So anyways, I finished 24th out of 25th in my age group and in my class, but I finished, right? Like, that was the super important piece. And for me, those are the things that are going to determine whether I'm successful or not in life. Because I'll be honest with you guys, I wanted no part of doing this thing. I did not want to do it. I had every reason in the book not to do it. But sitting on my couch yesterday after I had done it, being proud of finishing 24th out of 25th, right? So within our Beachbody business, what happens is, and I've seen this time and time again, are you the person that you get injured and you're like, it's not gonna be the best, so I'm just not gonna do it? Or is it like every step, like none of this is gonna be pretty, none of this is gonna be perfect, none of it's gonna be how you expected, some of it's gonna be even better than what you expected, but a lot of times you're gonna run into roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. But do you see it like, and I know this sounds cliche and corny, but do you see it as an opportunity for growth? Or do you see it as like, oh, it's another thing that just happened? Like, it's another thing getting in my way. So a lot of us want to get to 2-star diamond. A lot of us want to, so again, getting to diamond is just hustle. You don't need, you could ignore everything that I'm saying right now. Just put your freaking head down and do the work. Like, that's getting to diamond. But once we get there and we see, wow, he mentioned this 2-star diamond thing, and then we mentioned this 5-star diamond thing, and okay, so what do I need to do? What do I need to do to get to 5-star diamond? And here's all we need to do. You need to get 3 other people, like we established that, to build up to diamond, right? Like, it's not any more complicated than that. So why can't everybody do it? Why isn't everybody doing it? Because we're hustlers in this business, and we're willing to put in the work, and we're willing to do whatever it takes, right? But the real piece is, are you willing to open up your heart to another human being? Are you willing to actually, like, with the people that I'm mentoring and we're working with, like, when I'm working closely with someone that I'm bringing up in this business, they have my cell phone. They have, like, we talk we may be on the phone every single day for the next 6 months. So it's just a willingness to, here was the piece for me with the triathlon. And I think this is the ultimate piece that I'm trying to get across right now. Even when like, my back started feeling a little better, because at first I couldn't even, like, bend over, and it was like, there's no way I could physically do this. So I had to rest, but then it started getting better and better. And I made a decision that no matter what, I'm doing that triathlon. And it wasn't, I'm going to see how I feel on that day, because you know how that goes. It wasn't like there was no way out. And that's when it actually became easy. Because up until that point, like, the things are chattering around in your head. Am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? Right? And that's a dangerous, energy sapping place to be, indecision. Once you make that decision, even though it may be something that you're afraid of, even though you don't know how you're going to do it, but you make the decision that no matter what, I'm going to do it, things change. Everything changes. An awesome book to read right now, and I'm like, this is probably going to wind up being one of my top 5 books, and I haven't even finished it. Bo Eason just came out with this book. There's no plan B for your A game. And it's literally written for network marketers, because here's the deal in this business, and this may be getting way too far advanced for where you are in your business, but hell, this is the truth of this business. Unless you go all in for an extended period of time, you're never going to get the business off the ground. You're never going to, like, you guys are all on Pat's team, and you see him, he's like traveling the whole world. Like, you're never going to be able to do those things. He wasn't doing that in the beginning. He was hunkered down in his apartment, wherever he was, like, going out to gyms and meeting people and doing, like, whatever it took to get this thing off the ground. And then the benefits come after. So the whole piece, that, like, what I'm trying to share is you have to go all in on this thing. And it's worth it, because it's going to change your life for the better, like, on so many different levels. So going all in, making that decision, and the going all in, what you're going to find is, like, that's one of those, who do I need to become? So it's not what do I need to do, it's who do I need to become? Like, that's the big decision. All right, I'm going to go all in on this thing. So again, I'm going to go back to the triathlon. Who do I need to be to actually finish this thing, right? I need to be humbled as hell, because I know that it's not going to be pretty out there, that I'm not going to be anywhere near what I want. Like, I was already going to be finishing, like, almost dead last, and then I didn't get to train. So now it's going to be like, who do you need to grow into? What are the things that you need to let go of? You know, for me, it was, I knew that they've got 400 or 500 people starting this thing in, like, 2-second intervals, and you start in the swim, And I'm already uncomfortable out in the deep water. And now all of a sudden, like, I knew I was going to get uncomfortable out there. And we're out there and people are elbowing and, you know, you're getting like stuff splat. And I thought that everybody was going to be a gentleman in a triathlon. It's nothing like that. Like, everybody's pushing each other out of the way. And, you know, you're a quarter mile out into the water. And, you know, I started getting panicky out there. And, you know, I had to remember, like, I'm just in this to finish it. So I literally got on my back and started like doing the backstroke for a few minutes. I was like, I just need to calm down. Like, I need to get my composure here, and then just one step at a time. Right. But it was in the end goal of, so I love how this is coming together. We started talking about, like, you need to have an end goal, right? My goal wasn't to win this thing. My goal wasn't to finish in a certain time. My goal was to finish. Like, that's it. So now I know when I'm out there, like, I just need to gain my composure. I don't, like, these guys can go by me. I just need to gain my composure and keep swimming my race, like, one stroke at a time. And then eventually, you know, I got to the water and that was what I thought was the hard part was over. But it was making the decision to do it. It was setting an end goal. And then the whole time during the race for the bike, that's the part I love. That's the part I'm comfortable. And I kept noticing myself really pushing on the bike, but I had to keep pulling back because I knew that there was a 3.5 mile run after this thing and I had to leave something in the tank, right? This is my first triathlon. I'd never done this before. So in your Beachbody business, like, right now, I'm going to ask you to do two things. Buy Bo Eason's book, because it's freaking awesome. And this isn't like I get nothing for this. It's just, it's so good for this business, because all he's talking about in that book is figure out what you're going to be the best at and then dedicate all your resources to that. So for this, and he talks about you don't need to, not only do you don't need to, but here's the thing. Okay, I'm going to be the best Beachbody coach I can. I'm going to be a 5-star diamond coach. I'm going to have 1 million, like, whatever your declaration is. The next step is, how do I do it? And everybody wants to know the how. And I really caution you, don't get caught up in the how, get caught up in the action. Just start, just like the swimming. How am I going to finish this thing? I don't need to know any of that. I just need to one stroke at a time. Like, one stroke, that's all I need to know. Like, I don't need to know how I'm going to get out of this water. I don't need to know how I'm going to transition onto the bike. I'm right here, right now, one stroke, one thing at a time. Because so many of us, we think we want to know. That's why we're on the call right now, right? We're going to get the how. So, but this call isn't doing your business. Going and getting on the national wake-up call isn't doing your business. Even doing your workout, drinking your Shakeology, all that stuff is secondary to what's going to build your business, is actually talking to people, actually being out there, having conversations, following up with people, doing all that. That's the uncomfortable work. That's the work of being out there in the middle of the lake, like, getting pounded around. And, you know, that's what happens in this business, right? We just got started as Beachbody coaches. Now all of a sudden our friends are making fun of us, and this person ridiculed us. This person said they were going to sign up and they never, you know, now they disappeared on me. One stroke at a time, one step at a time. Just keep doing it. Keep swimming your race. Keep going forward. And eventually you're going to get to that finish line. But it's not that, like, you're never going to have all the answers. I don't have the answers. Pat has, like, it's figuring it out day by day, like, how this thing works. All right, that was a total tangent. I want to come back. I want to pause there, see if Pat has anything, but then I want to come back to the little skeleton piece, because there's an important piece in there.
Yeah, I mean, I really love the riff. That was like a hell of a riff. But I mean, if you're not willing to go all in, it's never going to happen. Like, that's something that I think a lot of us learned the hard way. I know I did. My business just didn't get off the ground the first few years because I never was willing to go all in on this thing. I just kind of dabbled. It's like an airplane getting off the ground. It uses 90% of its fuel on the takeoff and 10% when it's in the air. And if you don't put in that 90% effort, you're never going to fly in this business. You're never going to get off the ground. And I didn't realize that the first 3 years. It wasn't until I finally said, I have to buckle my ass down and go all in on this thing, or it's never going to get off the ground. And it just was like a little bit off the ground, and then it would kind of bounce off like a plane trying to take off the ground. It would just bounce, get off a little bit, bounce, get off a little bit, bounce. It wasn't until I made that commitment, like you said, for an extended period of time. For me, it was like a 7-month period of time where this was like became all I could eat, sleep, and breathe. And
yeah,
and that was the 7 months that I needed.
Real quick in that, when you were doing that, how far out of balance was the rest of your life?
There was no balance. It was like, this was it. Like I just was sick and tired of having to listen to a boss tell me how much I could make, how much vacation time I had. I was sick and tired of not being able to spend as much time as I wanted with people. I was sick and tired of not being able to take as many trips as I wanted. I just was sick and tired of not having freedom in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And I realized in order for me to have the freedom I wanted, I had to quit my adult leagues. I stopped playing co-ed kickball. I stopped playing co-ed, whatever the dodgeball I was doing. I quit my fantasy football league. I just stopped watching TV. I didn't watch TV at all for 7 months. Like there was my life just became this for 7 months.
It wasn't easy, but I would imagine it was simple.
It wasn't easy, but honestly, like it's the best. It's the 7 months that have had the biggest impact on my life. Yeah. And if I had to go back and do it again, I would in a second, in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Have you read Bo's book yet? Have you gotten it?
I haven't, no.
It's so good. So everything that we're talking about, he actually gives you a step-by-step. It's a combination of this is how you do it, or this is how I did it, and then here's how you can do it. Yeah, it's just a really, really good book. You heard him speak, right? You've heard him speak.
Yeah, I did. I like went to a couple of his events, did his like mastermind and everything.
Oh, all right. So yeah, you know his whole. Yeah, so he basically took everything that he does and put it into a book format and a path to follow. Yeah. He's like a former NFL player. He played safety for the Houston Oilers like back in the 80s. And now he and then he like when he had to retire because he like shattered his knee, he went into Broadway and he wanted to be the best like onstage actor, and he won like an award for best Broadway show, and it was a one-man show. He wrote the script, he performed the whole thing, he played all the different actors himself, and whatever he like kind of puts his mind to, he becomes the best at, whether it's professional football player or onstage actor. Bo Eason, Chris.
Bo Eason, what's it called? No Plan B? Is that what it's called?
There's no plan B for your A game.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that whole thing about if you're not willing to go all in, it's never going to happen. And that's something that I think we try to tell people that, if you just put in 15 minutes a day and it just adds up over time and it compounds over time, the slight edge. But I think really, if this thing's going to get off the ground, you got to get to that point. And I've seen it happen with all the successful coaches on our team. Yeah. They kind of get to this point where they just start breathing this thing. It just becomes like their life force, their energy. And, everybody around them feels that and kind of feeds off of that. But when they, if they take that time off, or they kind of pull back or something, then all that momentum that they built up, that kind of starts to fall off a little bit. But
and I think just to add one other thing too, I don't want that part to scare anybody away, meaning that no, like if you're in a spot right now where you have to also be in a spot that you have the ability to go all in. If for whatever reason you don't have that ability right now, or maybe you're not even there yet, maybe you're just looking to make an extra 100 or 200 bucks a week, that's like, stay where you're at, and there's nothing wrong with that. The important piece is that when you want to go past that, that's the path to take.
Yeah. And I think my first like 3 or 4 years in the business, if someone had said to me, hey, you're not going fast enough, you're not putting enough time in, like this isn't going to work for you, I probably would have been like, screw you, dude. Like I don't want to be on a team with that guy.
Yeah.
But I think the people I've surrounded myself with, they were kind of letting me go at my own pace. And if they weren't letting me go at my own pace, I just kind of shut them out. And I was like, all right, buddy, like you do you, I'll do me. And I needed that 3 years to allow myself to not go all in and allow myself to see other coaches sign up after me and blow this business out of the water and have more success than me, even though I had been a coach longer than them. I needed those things to slap me in the face in order for me to get to the point where I was ready to go all in on this. And if I had someone else forcing me to go all in on this, they probably would have cheated me out of the opportunity of allowing myself to get to that point. So I think that's a great point, Keith, that you can't have anyone else tell you that it's your time to go all in on this thing. I think you just have to let it happen. You have to get to that point where you're like, I'm just sick and tired of not going all in on this. I'm sick and tired of letting other people have more success than I am having. And I think there was a part of me that always knew that if I did go all in on this, I would be successful. I just knew it. And it just kind of pissed me off that I wasn't allowing myself the opportunity to do that, to see what I was capable of. But it took me 3 or 4 years to get to that point.
Yeah.
And that was my journey though. There was no one else that was going to speed that up for me. I had to do that on my own accord. But let's transition back into the skeleton a little bit, because I know we only got like about 10 minutes left here.
Cool. It's super easy.
I really love there's only 2 skills you need to develop in this business to be successful: the skill of recruiting people and the skill of developing or inspiring people. I mean, that is this business in a nutshell: the skill of recruiting and the skill of developing and inspiring, and loving where they are, but seeing where they can go. But you have to be able to do that for yourself. And I think that's something that I was very cool with, was my first 3 years in the business I was very cool with just kind of loving where I was in the business and, building it slowly. But I always could see there was so much more that I was capable of in this business. But I was cool and loved where I was at the time. But then I finally got to the point where I was like, all right, I'm sick of kind of seeing where I can go with this. I want to actually do it. So I really love how you broke those the only 2 skills you need in this business down: skill of recruiting and the skill of developing. But did you want to jump back into the skeleton of get yourself the diamond with hustle? Number 2, you got to start to kind of be able to love people where they're at, but then see where they could go and help them see that as well to get to 2-star, and then kind of that 5-star.
Yeah. Yeah. So you get to 5-star, right? And for some of us, that's a huge stretch right now to work at that. I would say one of the biggest skills, personal development skills, is to actually be able to see yourself at that level, and deeper than that, believe it. Like be able to feel it and believe it and embody it. Because once that happens, then that pulls you, pulls you along. And a lot of us, we get caught up in, what do I need to do? But if there's any part of you that doesn't believe you can get to the next step, you just don't get there. So a lot of the work is, and I know it sounds new agey or whatever you want to call it, but it's real. Like, if your energy will block you from getting to the next level. So anyways, the 5-star diamond. But here's the big piece. Like, Pat's done it, and I'm watching a few other people on your team do it now. The big piece is, instead of just continuing to rank advance blindly, we set a goal for, once we got to 5-star diamond, the next goal is going to be building 5 5-stars underneath us. And that was told and taught when I first started, that was the magic number to freedom, true freedom, financial freedom, time freedom, and also freedom of worry and stress for this business. Because the reality is that, like, you guys see Pat and where he's at now, he can go away and he can travel and not worry that his business is going to crumble. But when we're first starting out, we go away or we travel, our business does nothing, right? Like, and so how do we get away from that point? So that's the energy, the plane taking off, right? The plane taking off, how that looks from a skeleton standpoint to get to cruising altitude is 5 5-star diamonds underneath you. Because what's going to happen then, it really is the magic number. The reason that's so powerful is because once you get to that point, there's nothing that you can do on a daily, weekly, monthly, maybe even yearly basis that's going to have a bigger impact on your team growing than your actual leaders. Like, you don't have control. You have control over the big long-term picture, but not the short-term picture anymore. It's your leaders, it's your team. And it's such a freeing feeling because it's just like that plane, right? All that energy. And then what happens when the plane gets up to cruising altitude? Right? Like that pullback happens and that calm, and now it can just go with its own energy. And here's the reason I like that. You need a team of hundreds, even thousands of people to get to the point that you're at cruising altitude in this business. That's the amount of people, but you're only looking for 5. And that I could wrap my head around. You're looking for 5 leaders, and it starts with you becoming a leader, and then you're looking for 5 leaders. So let's simplify this big picture, because I know we're running out of time. I set the goal that I wanted to make $1 million a year, right? And I needed to figure out how to do that. And I wanted to do it year after year after year, and I wanted it to be long-term and permanent. And rank wasn't going to get me there. Bonuses weren't going to get me there. But building a team of leaders was. And putting that number of 5 in my head, that became the direction that everything was headed. So if this action wasn't getting me closer to getting my 5 leaders, I wasn't going to do it. So even as a brand new coach right now, the way that I'm looking at this is, all right, I got to hit Success Club, and then I'm looking for other people that want to do this business. And here's the reason why. I want to hit Success Club, not because I want to get the points and this and that. It's because I want to set a precedent for the people that come after me that this is what we do. And I'm going to set a culture of how we're doing it. So I know that was a lot, but sort of wrapping it all up there at the end, long-term goal, what are the actions to get to that? And then make sure that what you're doing on a daily basis is supporting that long-term goal.
And with the 5-star diamonds, I think it's important to also kind of know that they don't have to be personally sponsored. Like, those 5 people could be any coach in your entire downline, so is that something that you do, Keith, where you don't look at people in your downline as a personally sponsored coach that is, okay, that personally sponsored coach, that's the one that's going to help me with my rank, so I need to give that person more time than the person who's a non-personally sponsored that doesn't necessarily help my rank, but really is putting more time into it and has more potential because they're putting more time in. Where does your time go?
Yeah, right. Like for a hustling Beachbody coach that's advancing through the ranks, that's the hardest thing you have to do, because you have to make the decision Brett Blake once said, so Brett Blake was around years ago, but he was awesome, really smart, Harvard educated guy. And he said at one point, and I want to just really caution this statement pertains like after 5-star diamond. So once you get to 5-star diamond, but he said at some point in time, your goals aren't going to be the same as Beachbody's goals. And that was when we started doing that. Like, cause my goal was to make income. And like you'd always say on Team Boom, like, what is it that volume doesn't discriminate or something like that?
Volume's volume.
Yeah, volume's volume. Well, didn't somebody say volume doesn't discriminate? Or
I like that too. Like volume doesn't discriminate, but yeah, volume. We always say volumes. We say
and leaders are leaders, right?
Yeah, we and a lot of times like we'll talk a lot about like developing diamonds in your third level. You know, like that's one of the goals I set for a lot of the coaches on the team sometimes when they're setting their own goals of, hey, I want to hit 5-star, I want to hit elite. I say that's awesome. Like set those goals, but also like put on your goal list. I want to have 5 diamonds in my third level, meaning like my personally sponsors, my first level, their coaches are my second, and then their coaches are the third. When you have coaches in that third level that are hitting emerald, so a great goal for everybody on this call is 5 emeralds in your third level. And then a long-term goal, 5 diamonds in your third level. And, eventually, 5 5-star diamonds in your third level is a big one. But I think that, Keith, I really have to give you a lot of credit for, I'm thinking about it like this in the back of my mind during those first 3 or 4 years that I wasn't really taking this business serious. I always had this belief that I was going to be successful. I never was like doubting it. I always knew that if I just like shut my mouth and got to work and like actually went all in, I knew I was going to be successful. And I think a big reason for that, besides the fact that I kind of came from an athletic background where just like grinding it out and showing up and it was just part of like my mentality. So I always had that. But I think the way you laid it out early on of you just need to find 5 good leaders. You just need to help 5 people get to that point, and they don't have to be personally sponsored. It really quieted my mind and made me have this laser focus of, I don't need to have all these successful points. I don't need to sign 1 million people. I just need those 5 great people that really want to go all in with this and work with them and help them find their 5 people. I just knew it in my gut that I was going to find just 5 people like that. It was just, to me, it was just inevitable. And I think a big reason was because you laid it out so simply, and it was just, I could wrap my mind around that and just go. And I knew the only way I would mess that up, the only way that wouldn't happen is if I just didn't try. I didn't go all in. I knew that if I went all in, it was going to happen. And that's when my regret of not doing it and not going all in became really strong, because I knew it was going to happen if I just did it. So I got to thank you for that, man. That was a game changer for me back in the day. That the 5 5-star diamonds that they don't have to be personally sponsored was a huge shift for me.
See, I think it was the other way. I think you were like, man, if this kid can do it, I can definitely do this.
Well, that was definitely, I was going through my mind too a little bit. When I saw you and Bob up there, and I was like, all right, these guys, come on. Like, but I mean, you guys went about it the right way. Like, you guys just had the mentality of treating it like a business. And I was like, they just are thinking about this differently than I am. If I thought the way they did and I acted the way and I put in the action that they're putting in, like, I know I can be successful with this thing. It's just a matter of just doing it for that extended period of time.
So fun.
Yeah. But Keith, this was awesome, man. I got a lot of really, really great notes from this thing. I really love that one you said, like, do you see, because we're all going to come across this, do you see these roadblocks as excuses to give up? Or do you see them as this opportunity for growth? I really thought that was a really great way of looking at it, because that's a huge determinant in this business, because you are going to, have roadblocks. You're going to have coaches that quit on you. You're going to have people that fall off. But if you just kind of keep that in mind of, it doesn't matter how many coaches quit on me. If I stick with this long enough and help those 5 people develop into, leaders, then it doesn't matter how many had quit on me on the way there. And those roadblocks kind of become like, oh, okay, I can learn from that. You know, I can maybe say something different. And that's something I say when coaches quit all the time. I ask them like, hey, like what could I have done differently to help you a little bit more? Not to try to get you to come back, kind of, I am a little bit, but you know, what, you know, would have made a difference, you know, like those are opportunities for growth, not like, oh, like, woe is me, like this isn't going to work for me. I can't, like, coaches are quitting on me. It's more like, this is okay. I can learn from this and get better with, you know, with the next person. So I love that. All right, Keith, this was awesome, man. Always love having you on here, sharing your wisdom with the team. If you guys haven't had a chance, Keith, where can they follow you to just kind of hear from you a little bit more and grab your book and all that good stuff?
Yeah, over on Instagram, we're going to be getting much more active soon. Also, we're going to, I probably shouldn't say this yet, but probably within like a week, the book is going to be back up where we're going to be doing free plus shipping again. So
nice.
It should be available in like a week. And also, I don't know if you've seen this yet, Pat, but so this was the book. See the little guy, and the other one's a workbook.
Oh, nice.
We did a soft launch on that like a month ago, so we haven't promoted it at all yet. Terry Blockett, Keith, do you run your business? So Terry, I am not the person to follow on social media.
You built your business mostly in person, right? Like just going out and talking.
I built my business. So here's I didn't even answer Pat's original question. I haven't worked this business besides, I worked this business, I've been in it for 10 years. For the first 3 years, all the benefits I've experienced came from those first 3 years. And I've maintained a business so I have all these leaders, so the business keeps growing from the original leaders that were created. And I maintain like bringing in some new coaches here and there, but now it's from a podcast that I have and from SEO blog posts. I'm totally missing the boat with Instagram and Facebook, but going off of Pat's original question, like I've had the ability to start another business, like writing books and doing stuff like that, because I don't have to spend the time on this that I did in the beginning.
Those first 3 years in the business for you were that the takeoff of
it. Yeah.
And
we got so many
your business now just continues to grow, even if you're not behind the pilot seat.
Yeah, and I still work really close with a lot of leaders. Like any up and coming leaders, I do one-on-one calls with them. But if you look at my Instagram and you look at my Facebook, and you're like, how did this guy build a business? Because they're not that good.
But yeah, you get to a point in your business where it's more beneficial to work with the coaches on the team and mentor them and mentor their coaches that they're bringing in than it is to spend time, you know, recruiting a lot of times. You know, it's like the more of your time, the majority of your time is spent helping your coaches have more success, mentoring them, helping them train their coaches. That's something my mom has really done an unbelievable job of. You know,
she's so good at it.
Yeah.
Just one more thing I want to add to Terry's question is there's an older book that's actually still pertinent called Crush It. In what it does is it talks about how to find the right social resource for you. And I actually, because I believe that you have to have, like, Instagram is different than Facebook, just like Snapchat. Like if you were 17 years old, I'd tell you to build it on Snapchat. If you were really artistic, Instagram's a no-brainer. So that, like, it's different for different people. I can talk on a mic, like I can talk. So I do a lot of my recruiting through podcasts and other stuff that gets out like that, because it's what I'm good at.
Yeah. Love it. It was one thing I was just thinking when you were talking about how you've kind of put in that time, and then now your business has gotten to the point where it's kind of, you have the leaders that are running their own teams now within your team. you don't want to be a control freak in this business. If you're a control freak in this business, you're gonna burn yourself out. You got to be a freedom freak in this business. You got to work to the point where you want freedom over control. Because that's what the trajectory of this business is, not control. Like, you want to get to the point where you don't have to control the business.
Well, you don't have control.
You've developed the people that, in your team, and where they've had teams of their own, and they have the control now of their teams. And now you've created freedom in your life. You're not a control freak. You're a freedom freak. That's something you got to ask yourself. What do you want more? Do you want to be the one that everyone has to come to you all the time, and you're the one that's in control? Or do you want to develop people where they can take over the plane and they can fly it, and that gives you the freedom to do whatever it is you want to do in life? If you got 5 kids and you want to spend every second with them and be at every one of their events, and then that's what this thing has the ability to do. So, well, this was awesome, Keith. Man, I want to thank you for taking the time to hop on here. And I hope these guys got a lot out of this. I know they did. I hope they took some notes, and I hope they can check out your podcasts and your social media. Even though you don't say it's great, it's still great to go on there and see what's going on there, and grab your book if they haven't already. We got a fun way of just kind of saying thanks. We got a boom on 3 here for you, Keith. I'm gonna let you guys unmute yourself. I used to unmute everybody, and then you never know what's going on in people's kitchens. That's some weird stuff. But I'll let you guys unmute yourself. Let's get a big boom on 3 here for Keith. All right. 1, 2, 3. All right. Day 1 of, we got 21 days of this big Dash to Diamond group that's kicking off today. I'll see you guys in the group. And Keith, thanks again, man. That was awesome. I'll see you guys. Thanks, guys, for hopping on. And I'll post the recording if anyone missed it. See you guys.